In less than 24 hours, a man will watch his last sunrise. Roy Lee Ward, prisoner number 969,720, will be executed by the state of Indiana at dawn on October 10, 2025. But this isn't just another true crime story. This is about a question that will haunt you long after this video ends. Can justice delayed for 24 years still be called justice? And should a man with autism be executed for a crime committed when his condition went undiagnosed? Before you form your opinion, before you comment below, I need you to hear this entire story. Because what happened in a small Indiana town on July 11, 2001, and what's about to happen today, will challenge everything you think you know about the death penalty in America. If you believe this conversation matters, hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on notifications, because stories like this need to be told. Now, let's begin. Dale, Indiana. Population 1,593. The kind of place where everyone knows everyone, where doors stay unlocked, where a summer day in July 2001 felt like any other summer day. Until it wasn't. Roy Lee Ward was 28 years old. Stacy Payne was just 15. On that July afternoon, Ward forced his way into Stacy's home. What happened next was brutal beyond comprehension. Ward raped her. He beat her with a dumbbell. He stabbed her. When Matt Keller, the former town marshal, discovered her, Stacy was airlifted to the hospital, clinging to life. Hours later, she died, a teenage girl, alone in her home, in a town where this wasn't supposed to happen. The investigation was swift. Ward was arrested. The evidence was overwhelming. And in October 2002, a Spencer County jury delivered their verdict, guilty of murder, rape, and criminal deviant conduct. The sentence, death. Justice, it seemed, had been served. But that was 23 years ago. Here's what most people don't understand about death row in America. The execution isn't the punishment. The waiting is. Roy Lee Ward has spent over 8,000 days in a cell waiting to die. That's 8,000 sunrises, 8,000 nights. 23 years of appeals, legal challenges, and an endless countdown to a death that seemed like it might never come. Appeals to the Indiana Supreme Court, post-conviction motions, federal habeas corpus proceedings, the American justice system grinding forward at a pace that seems designed to exhaust everyone involved. And here's the twist. In 2022, 21 years after the murder, Ward pleaded guilty again. A second jury in Clay County handed down a second death sentence. But by then, Indiana hadn't executed anyone in 15 years. The state had quietly stopped. Until 2024, when executions resumed. Ward would be only the third person executed since Indiana started again. And then, just weeks ago, something unexpected happened. Roy Lee Ward withdrew his final federal lawsuits. The last legal barriers fell away. The execution was scheduled. October 10th, 2025. Before sunrise. Lethal injection. After 24 years, the state was finally going to finish what that jury decided in 2002. But Ward's lawyers had one more card to play. In September 2024, Ward's legal team appeared before the Indiana Parole Board with a clemency request. Their argument? Roy Lee Ward should not be executed because the jury that sentenced him to death didn't understand who they were really condemning. In 2002, Ward was diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, ASPD, the diagnosis that gets slapped on violent criminals, the diagnosis that says, this person can't feel remorse, can't feel empathy, is fundamentally broken. But Ward's lawyers argued that diagnosis was wrong. The real diagnosis, they claimed, is autism spectrum disorder. And here's why that matters. People with autism can feel remorse. They can experience guilt. They just process and express emotions differently than neurotypical people. Ward himself submitted a written statement, declining to appear in person. He wrote about his communication difficulties, his language impairments, his concerns that people misunderstand him because of how his autism affects his social interactions. He expressed remorse for what he did to Stacy Payne. The question before the parole board was this: if the jury in 2002 had known Ward had autism instead of ASPD, would they have still chosen death? Or would they have chosen life in prison without parole? But there was another voice in that clemency hearing: Stacy Payne's family. They had counted every single one of those 8,000 days since their daughter was murdered. They had waited through 24 years of appeals, 24 years of legal delays, 24 years of hoping for closure. Their message to the parole board was 2 words: no mercy. The parole board voted unanimously to deny clemency. Governor Mike Braun agreed, citing the brutal nature of the killing. The execution would proceed as scheduled. So here we are, hours before dawn on October 10, 2025, and we're left with questions that don't have easy answers. Is 24 years on death row justice, or is it torture? The Constitution prohibits cruel and unusual punishment, but is making someone wait a quarter century to die somehow worse than the execution itself? Should we execute people with autism? Ward committed a horrific crime. The evidence was never in dispute. But if his brain processes the world differently, if the jury misunderstood who he was because of a misdiagnosis, does that change the moral calculus? And what about Stacy Payne's family? They've lived with this grief for 24 years. They've been forced to relive the worst day of their lives through countless hearings and appeals. Don't they deserve finality? Don't they deserve to see the sentence carried out that a jury promised them in 2002? These aren't rhetorical questions. These are the questions at the heart of capital punishment in America. And they don't have easy answers. Some of you watching this believe the death penalty is always wrong. Some of you believe Roy Lee Ward deserves exactly what he's getting. Some of you are somewhere in between. What I know is this: in a few hours, the state of Indiana will administer a lethal injection to Roy Lee Ward. He will be pronounced dead. The execution will be marked complete. And Stacy Payne will still be gone. 2 lives ended, one in 2000, violently, and far too soon. One, in 2025, by the calculated hand of the state, after 24 years of waiting. Stacy Payne was 15 years old when she died. She never got to graduate high school, never went to college, never fell in love, never traveled, never lived the life that was stolen from her on that July day. Roy Lee Ward has lived in a cell, waiting to die for nearly half his life. Tomorrow the sun will rise over Dale, Indiana, and both of them will be gone. This is the conversation we need to be having about justice in America. If this video made you think, made you question, made you uncomfortable, good, that means it mattered. Subscribe to this channel, share this video, leave your thoughts in the comments below, but keep it respectful. This isn't entertainment. These are real lives, real families, and real questions about who we are as a society.